Jain friends, welcome to Kalyani IS Academy. In this lecture, we will study nutrition. Now start the lecture and understand what is nutrition. See, the body of organism consists of different cells, tissues, organs and organ systems. And different nutrients are required for the proper functioning of these components of the body. Such as some nutrients like carbohydrates are required to meet the energy demands. Some nutrients like proteins are required to repair different components of the body. Some nutrients like vitamins are required to stay healthy, and some nutrients like protein and fats are required to grow. And the process of taking in these nutrients in the form of food and utilizing it is known as nutrition, right? So simply we can say that nutrition is the process of obtaining the nutrients in the form of food and utilizing these nutrients to grow, stay healthy and repair any damaged body part is known damaged body part. In other words, we can say that nutrition is the process of taking in food and converting it into energy and taking in various vital nutrients required for life. So simply nutrition is the process, right? Nutrition is the process, and nutrition is the process of taking in vital nutrients. So simply you have understood what is nutrition, right? So the process of obtaining vital nutrients in the form of food and utilizing these nutrients to grow, to stay healthy and to repair any damaged body part is known as nutrition, right? Now what are nutrients, right? What are the nutrients? See, nutrients are those substances which provide energy, right, and biomolecules necessary for carrying out various activities, right? उनको ही क्या कहा जाता है? Nutrients कहा जाता है, right? So nutrients are the substances which provide energy and biomolecules, right, necessary for carrying out various body functions, right? So in this way we can say that all living organisms need nutrients for the proper functioning and growth of the body. Now, what is the importance of nutrition, or what is the need of nutrition, right? So let's study the need or importance of nutrition. The first is nutrition is required for growth and development of the body, right? Now I would explain that why are the nutrients required for growth. See, organisms obtain different nutrients in the form of food, and later this food is digested and converted into simpler and water-soluble molecules. Later, in the presence of oxygen, oxidation of food takes place, right? And in the process of oxidation, right, this carbohydrate or glucose is get converted into energy in the form of energy or ATP. Later this ATP in human is used to carry out different activities, right, such as repair of damaged tissue, right, and to function various activities, right, and to grow. So therefore we can say that nutrients are required for growth and development of the body. Second, nutrients are required for biological activities that take place in the body, such as respiration, right? Respiration, excretion, different activities. Nutrients are required to provide energy to the body, right? To grow cells, tissues and different organs, and to repair damaged cells, tissues, etc., etc. So this is the need and importance of nutrition, right? Now we will study type of nutrition, right? So we will see the different types of nutrition, and this may be asked in the examination as a MCQs, right? So here we will study the definition as well as the example, right? Definition as well as the example, because in the example either example would be asked. For an example, which type of nutrition is found in plants, right? Option A, autotrophic nutrition, option B, heterotrophic nutrition, option C, saprophytic nutrition, etc., etc., right? So either examples would be asked in the examination, or the question is asked, right, those organisms, right, those organisms which feed on the dead body or decomposed material are known as autotrophic organisms, heterotrophic organisms, saprophytic organisms, right? So in this way you must know what is the difference, what is the definition of a particular terminology, right? So let's study the types of nutrition, right? The first is autotrophic nutrition, right? The first is autotrophic nutrition. What is autotrophic nutrition? See, the mode of nutrition in which organisms synthesize their own food is known as autotrophic nutrition, right? For an example, plants synthesize their own energy, right? So the autotrophic nutrition is found in green plants, right? So simply the mode of nutrition in which organisms synthesize their own food is known as autotrophic nutrition. For an example, nutrition in green plants. Now the question is asked, or the MCQs is asked, what are autotrophic, what are autotrophs, right? Autotrophs, right? What are autotrophic organisms? So simply we can say that organisms, right? Organisms that make their own food, or organisms that synthesize their own food, are known as autotrophic organisms, or simply autotrophs, right? Now there are two types of autotrophic nutrition. The first is photosynthesis and second is chemosynthesis, right? What is photosynthesis? See, the mode of autotrophic nutrition in which organisms synthesize their food in the presence of light using carbon dioxide and water is known as photosynthesis, right? So when organisms synthesize their food in the presence of sunlight is known as photosynthesis. Or we can say that if organisms synthesize their food using chemical energy, then this is known as chemosynthesis, right? So what is chemosynthesis? Say, right, chemosynthesis, synthetic chemosynthetic organisms chemosynthesis. So when organisms synthesize their own food using chemical energy is known as chemosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? When organisms synthesize their own food using light energy is known as photosynthesis. And during photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water get converted into carbohydrates in the presence of sunlight. The carbohydrates are then stored in the form of starch, and this starch is later used to derive the energy in the plants. Now heterotrophic nutrition. What is heterotrophic nutrition? See, the mode of nutrition in which organisms do not synthesize their own food and depend on other organisms for their food is known as heterotrophic nutrition, such as humans, right? Humans do not synthesize their own food. Instead of, they obtain food from different sources such as plants, right, animals, etc., etc. So the mode of nutrition in which organisms do not synthesize their own food but depend on other organisms for food is known as heterotrophic nutrition, right? Now what are heterotrophs, right, or what are heterotrophic organisms? So simply we can say that those organisms which do not synthesize their own food but depend on other organisms for food are known as heterotrophic organisms or heterotrophs. heterotrophs, right? Heterotrophs can be of many varieties, right? So heterotrophs can be of many varieties depending on their environment and adaptations, such as some organisms may eat plants, और जो plants को कंज्यूम करते हैं उनको हर्बीवोरस कहा जाता है. तो some organisms or some heterotrophs eat plants known as herbivores, right? Other organisms eat animals, right, known as carnivorous, and some heterotrophs eat both plants as well as animals are known as omnivorous. Thus we can say that survival of heterotrophs depends on directly or indirectly on plants, right? Heterotrophs are classified into different categories based on their mode of nutrition. The first is parasitics, right? Parasites, for an example, leeches, right? Leeches or ticks, right? So parasites, leeches or ticks, right? Saprophytes, example, mushrooms, and holozoic, humans and dogs, right? Now let's study the parasites, right? What is parasitic nutrition and what are parasites? See, there is a little bit difference between parasitic nutrition and parasites, right? So don't worry, if I use a single definition, you can sense the other definition as well, right? So what is parasitic nutrition, right? Parasitic nutrition. See, organisms that obtain their food and nutrition from the bodies of other animals. Such organisms are called parasites, and such nutrition is known as parasitic nutrition, right? Now you will say that what is the difference between parasitic nutrition, right, and saprophytic, right? तो जो saprophytic है ये भी अदर ऑर्गेनिजम्स की बॉडी से ही न्यूट्रिशन को प्राप्त करते हैं, बट वो बॉडी क्या होती है, डेड होती है या डिकेड होती है, राइट? सो दिस इज द डिफरेंस. So what is parasitic nutrition? Organisms that obtain their food and nutrition from the bodies of other animals. Such organisms are called parasites, and this process is known as parasitic nutrition. Example, amarvale and plasmodium, right? Now these parasites can be divided into two parts. The first is external parasites and second is internal parasites. So बड़ा ही सिंपल है. एक्सटर्नल, अब देखिए जो पैरासाइट्स होते हैं वो अदर एनिमल्स की बॉडी से ही एनर्जी को और न्यूट्रिएंट्स को क्या करते हैं, ऑब्टेन करते हैं, और यदि वो अदर ऑर्गेनिजम्स की बॉडी के आउटसाइड प्रेजेंट हैं तो वो क्या होगा, एक्सटर्नल पैरासाइट्स. उनको क्या कहा जाएगा, एक्सटर्नल पैरासाइट्स. सो ऑर्गेनिजम्स दैट ऑब्टेन न्यूट्रिशन बाय लिविंग outside the body of organism are known as external parasites, such as mosquitoes, right? Mosquitoes live in the environment and they suck our blood, right, and get the nutrition, right? So when organisms obtain nutrition by living outside the body of animals are known as external parasites, right? Example, mosquitoes, right, leeches and ticks. Second is internal parasites, right? So those organisms that obtain nutrition by living inside the body of organism are known as internal parasites. For an example, plasmodium, right, which get the nutrition and which grow inside the body of human beings. Next is saprophytic nutrition, right? What is saprophytic nutrition? So we can say that organisms that obtain their food and nutrition from the dead and decayed organisms. Decayed organisms are known as saprophytes, and this process is known as saprophytic nutrition, right? Saprophytic nutrition. So when organisms, right? So when organisms obtain food and energy from dead and decayed organisms are known as saprophytes, and this process is known as saprophytic nutrition, right? And saprophytes are important part of the ecosystem, Why? See, because the saprophytes keep the environment clean and neat, right? So these saprophyte keeps our environment clean and recycle nutrients back into the ecosystem. For an example, see, here comes plant, right? Here is a plant. Now you know that plants are autotrophic, right? Plants synthesize their own food using carbon dioxide, water and nutrients, right? And plants get these nutrients from the soil, right? From the soil. अब देखिए, जब इस प्लांट की क्या होती है, डेथ होती है, राइट? सो डेथ होने के बाद ये जो पूरा का पूरा प्लांट है ये सॉइल में क्या हो जाता है, मिल जाता है, एंड द सेप्रोफाइट्स कन्वर्ट दिस ऑर्गेनिक मटेरियल इनटू न्यूट्रिएंट्स, राइट? इस तरीके से न्यूट्रिएंट्स की क्या होती है, रिसाइकल होती है, अगेन फिर उसी न्यूट्रिएंट्स को अदर प्लांट्स क्या करते हैं, यूज करते हैं, राइट? सो देयरफॉर saprophytes plays an important role in our ecosystem because the saprophytes keep our environment clean and recycle nutrients, right? These are also responsible for the stilling of bread and other similar product, right? तो ये एक तरीके से हमारे लिए राइट saprophytes are also harmful, right? Economically harmful because these saprophytes are also responsible for stealing of bread and other material, और इसी वजह से हमारा जो फूड है वो क्या हो जाता है, स्टेल हो जाता है. Saprophytes release certain enzyme to act on the complex organic matter. It works by breaking it down into constituent which can be easily consumed by them, right? तो जो saprophytes हैं वो certain enzymes के माध्यम से ही जो large molecules होते हैं उनको break कर देते हैं ताकि वो उस न्यूट्रिएंट को या उस मॉलिक्यूल को खुद कंज्यूम कर सके. इस तरीके से, राइट, these saprophytes recycle the nutrients. For an example, fungi and certain types of bacteria. Now third is holozoic nutrition. What is holozoic nutrition? Holozoic nutrition involves the ingestion of the food and internal processing, right? Which internal processing, right? Which comprises the digestion, assimilation, right? Digestion and assimilation of the food, and solid converts the solid and liquid food in an organism, right? So simply we can say that holozoic nutrition involves the ingestion of food and later internal processing of solid and liquid food such as digestion, assimilation, absorption in an organism is known as holozoic nutrition. This involves the steps of ingestion, which means taking in food, digestion, breaking down the large and water insoluble molecules into small and water soluble molecules, then absorption of the digested food into bloodstream, assimilation, right, using the small and water soluble molecules to repair the cells and tissues and to produce the energy, and later excretion, right? So holozoic nutrition involves ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and excretion, right? And we have studied the digestive system. In the digestive system, I have made you understand these 5 stages, right? These 5 stages of nutrition. So simply human is holozoic, right? Human is holozoic, a holozoic organism, which means that in human there are 5 stages of the nutrition which are ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and excretion, right? Such as animals and amoeba and humans. Clear? Holozoic organisms can be divided into 3 types. The first is herbivorous. What are herbivorous? See, those organisms, right? Those organisms that depend on plants for their food, right? So these organisms depend on plants for food. उनको ही क्या कहा जाता है? Herbivorous कहा जाता है. Examples: cows, butterflies, deer, elephant, right? Second, carnivorous, right? Carnivorous animals feed on other animals for their food. Example, lions, tigers, leopards, etc. Third is omnivorous, right? So omnivorous are those animals or those organisms, right, which survive on either plant or animals for their food, right? For an example, cockroach, pig, chimpanzees, right, raccoons, ants are the examples of omnivorous. Clear? Now we will see nutrition in plants. See, so now we will classify. Now we have understood different types. Now we have understood different types of nutrition. Now we will study nutrition in plants, right? After that we will study nutrition in animals, and after that we will study nutrition in human, right? So as you remember, we have studied the nutrition, right? We have studied the nutrition in humans, right? We have studied the digestive system in the human. At that time I made you understand the nutrition in humans, so we have studied it. Now we will study the nutrition in plants as well as we will study nutrition in animals, right? So let's study nutrition in plants. What is the nutrition? See, the process of obtaining food and utilizing it to grow, to stay healthy and to repair any damaged body part is known as nutrition in plants, right? There are two types of nutrition in plants. The first is autotrophic and second is heterotrophic nutrition, right? The first is autotrophic nutrition. What is autotrophic nutrition? See, the mode of nutrition in which organisms synthesize their own food is known as autotrophic nutrition. And the autotrophic nutrition, there are two types of autotrophic nutrition. The first is photosynthesis and second is chemosynthesis, right? So we will study here the photosynthesis in detail, because in the prelims examination different questions have been asked in various examination, right? And in future many MCQs may be asked, right? So now we will study the photosynthesis in detail and we will see the minute facts and we will see the photosynthesis in depth, right? At first, what is photosynthesis? See, photosynthesis is the process of synthesizing the food in the presence of sunlight using chlorophyll, right? Using chlorophyll and water and carbon dioxide, right? So plants are photosynthetic. Plants are able to produce their own food through a process called photosynthesis, or we can say that photosynthesis is the process of synthesizing the food in the presence of sunlight, right? For this photosynthesis, chloroplast, or we can say that chlorophyll is most important, right? So the chloroplast, which is, right, chloroplast is the site of photosynthesis, right? This may be asked in the examination. So the chloroplast is the site of photosynthesis. The food production primarily is carried out in the leaves, right? Because the chloroplast, right? The chloroplast which contains chlorophyll is found in the leaves. Therefore, food is synthesized by the plant, right, in leaves. Water and minerals from the soil are absorbed by the root and transported to the leaves through the vessels, right? For an example, xylem and phloems. Xylem and phloems tissues are found in the plants, and these xylem tissues are responsible for absorbing water as well as minerals from the soil, right? And carbon dioxide reaches the leaves through the stomata, right? What is stomata? Right? Stomata are holes, right? Stomata are the small pores on leaves surrounded by the guard cells, right? तो स्टोमाटा क्या होते हैं? पोर्स होते हैं जो कि कहाँ पर पाए जाते हैं? लीव्स में पाए जाते हैं. So simply, right, using or we can say that with the help of xylem tissues, right, plants absorb water and minerals from the soil. Plants absorb carbon dioxide from the environment through the stomata, and stomata are the small pores on the leaves, right? And the chloroplast or chlorophyll is found in the leaves. Therefore, the process of photosynthesis takes place or carried out in the leaves, right? Chlorophyll is a green pigment, right? Chlorophyll is a green pigment present in the leaves, which helps the leaves to capture the energy from sunlight to prepare their food, or we can say that chlorophyll is important to capture the sunlight. This production of food, which takes place in the presence of sunlight, is known as photosynthesis. Hence, we can say that sun serves as the primary source of the food for all living organisms. So this is the most important. The sun serves as the primary source of food for all living organisms, right? Now the most important, right? During photosynthesis, water and carbon dioxide are used in the presence of sunlight to produce carbohydrates and oxygen. Here, photosynthesis provides food to all living beings, right? Oxygen, one of the main components of the life on earth, is released by plants during the photosynthesis. So we can say that oxygen is the component which is released by the plants during photosynthesis, right? So in this way we have seen various minute details regarding the photosynthesis, right? So we have seen the photosynthesis, right? Now we will see the conditions necessary for photosynthesis. The first is sunlight, right? First is sunlight, second water, third carbon dioxide, fourth chlorophylls, right? There are different steps in photosynthesis. The first is absorption, right? Absorption of energy from the sunlight, right? So we can see that plants absorb the light energy, right, in the form of sunlight. Second, conversion of light energy into chemical energy. Third, hydrolysis of water, right, into oxygen and hydrogen, right? तो यहाँ पर ये बहुत ही important fact है which have been asked in various examination. Photosynthesis में ऑक्सीजन किससे बनता है, right? So a step known as hydrolysis, जिसमें हाइड्रोजन वाटर का क्या होता है, ब्रेक डाउन होता है, right? तो जब जो वाटर है, वाटर का जब ब्रेक डाउन होता है उसी को ही क्या कहते हैं, हाइड्रोलिसिस कहते हैं. एंड इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ हाइड्रोलिसिस वाटर, राइट, इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ hydrolysis, the process of hydrolysis, water is get converted into hydrogen as well as oxygen, clear, and carbon dioxide is reduced to form glucose by utilizing chemical energy, clear. So in this way we have studied the autotrophic nutrition in plants, right? So we have studied the autotrophic nutrition in plants. Now we will see the heterotrophic nutrition in plants, right? First is what is heterotrophic nutrition, right? So the mode of nutrition in which organisms do not synthesize their energy but depend on other organisms for their food is known as heterotrophic nutrition, and heterotrophic nutrition is found in plants as well as animals, right? And listed below are the different types of heterotrophic plants that are mainly classified based on their mode of nutrition. The first is parasitic, right? Parasitic. Second, insectivorous, right? Parasitic, insectivorous, right? Saprophytic, right? Symbiotic, right? And next, parasitic nutrition. सॉरी, ये जो है 4 एग्जाम्पल्स होते हैं. तो प्लांट्स में भी हेट्रोट्रोपिक न्यूट्रिशन होता है, जिसको हम हेट्रोट्रोपिक न्यूट्रिशन होता है. फॉर एग्जांपल जिसको हम जो है 4 भागों में तोड़ सकते हैं. तो जो हेट्रोट्रोपिक न्यूट्रिशन है वो पैरासिटिक न्यूट्रिशन के रूप में, राइट. फिर इंसेक्टिवोरस में भी हेट्रोट्रोपिक न्यूट्रिशन पाया जाता है, सैप्रोफिटिक न्यूट्रिशन पाया जाता है और सिम्बायोटिक न्यूट्रिशन पाया जाता है, जिनको हम एक एक करके यहाँ पर समझेंगे. सबसे पहले तो क्या हो जाएगा, पैरासिटिक हो जाएगा. सो सी सम हेट्रोट्रोफिक प्लांट्स, right? Some heterotrophic plants depend on other plants and animals for nutrition. Such plants are known as parasitic plants, right? However, the host is not benefited from this parasitic nutrition. For an example, Cascata, right? Cascata and Cassita. These are the examples of parasitic plants, and the examples are the most important, right? Cascata, right? Cascata and Cassita are the examples of parasitic plants. Next is insectivorous nutrition. So some plants have been, right? Some plants have special structural features that help them to trap the insects and are commonly known as carnivorous or heterotrophic plants, right? So some plants have special structural features that help them to trap insects and are commonly known as carnivorous or heterotrophic plants. These plants digest insect by secreting digestive juices and absorb the nutrients from them, right? These plants grow on the soil that lacks minerals. तो जहाँ पर minerals की कमी होती है, right? So these plants grow on the soil that lacks minerals, and to get the different minerals, right? To get the different minerals, some plants have special structural features, और उनसे ही ये क्या करते हैं, इंसेक्ट को कैप्चर करते हैं and get the nutrients as well as the food. For an example, pitcher plant, right? पिचर प्लांट्स में जो लीव्स होती हैं, राइट? जो पिचर प्लांट्स है उसमें लीव्स ही पिचर में क्या होती हैं, कन्वर्ट हो जाती हैं, जिसमें इंसेक्ट को ट्रैप किया जाता है और उनसे न्यूट्रिएंट्स जो हैं और एनर्जी प्राप्त की जाती है. देन बीनस फ्लाई ट्रैप, राइट? तो बीनस फ्लाई ट्रैप और पिचर प्लांट आर द एग्जांपल्स ऑफ insectivorous nutrition in plants. Next is saprophytic nutrition, right? So the saprophytic plants derive nutrition from the dead and decaying plants and animals. They dissolve the dead and decaying matter while secreting digestive juices and absorb the nutrients. For an example, mushrooms and molds, right? Next, symbiotic nutrition, right? So when two different plants belonging to different categories, right, so a close association, they are termed as symbiotic, right? और यहाँ पर जो symbiotic relationship में होता है, इसमें दोनों ही एक दूसरे की क्या करते हैं, मदद करते हैं. So when two different plants belonging to different categories, so a close association are known as symbiotic nutrition, right? In this nutrition, both plants are benefited from each other, right? For an example, the association of fungi, right, and trees. Now, nutrition in animals. See, the first thing I would like to tell you that plants में autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition दोनों प्रकार का nutrition पाया जाता है. So, autotrophic nutrition as well as heterotrophic nutrition is found in plants. But if we talk about animals, so there is only one type of nutrition, that is heterotrophic nutrition is found in animals, right? So the only one type that is heterotrophic nutrition is found in animals, right? And the nutrition in animals is of heterotrophic in nature, and nutrition in animals depend upon the feeding habit of the animals, right? So nutrition in animals depend on the feeding habit of the animals. Different feeding habit of animals are the result of evolution, right? For an example, we will see there are different modes of ingestion. What is ingestion? The process of taking in food is known as ingestion, and the method of ingestion is different in different animals. For an example, bees and hummingbirds suck nectar from the plants. So this is the first mode of ingestion, right? So bees and hummingbirds suck nectar from the plants, and a python swallows its prey, and cattle feed on grass. In this way, there are different modes of ingestion, right? Among the terrestrial animals, the earliest forms were large amphibians that ate fish. तो जो एम्फीबियंस थे उन्होंने फिश को जो है एक तरीके से ईट किया था, while amphibians like frogs fed on small fishes and insects, and the reptiles began feeding on other animals and plants, right? तो इस तरीके से ये यहाँ पर हम कह सकते हैं कि animals have different habits of taking food, or that is ingestion, right? The specialization of organisms toward specific food sources and of course specific ways of eating is one of the major cause of the evolution. तो evolution की वजह से ही animals में different modes of ingestion पाए जाते हैं, और साथ ही साथ इसी की वजह से ही या evolution की वजह से ही right the specialization of organisms toward specific food sources एंड स्पेसिफिक वेज ऑफ ईटिंग जो है वो किसकी वजह से डेवलप हुआ है, एवोल्यूशन की वजह से ही हुआ है. नाउ एनिमल्स कैन बी डिवाइडेड इनटू फॉलोइंग ग्रुप्स डिपेंडिंग अपॉन देयर फूड हैबिट. द फर्स्ट इज हर्बीवोरस. अब हमको पता है हर्बीवोरस कौन होते हैं, तो हर्बीवोरस आर एनिमल्स दैट डिपेंड ऑन प्लांट्स एंड फ्रूट्स फॉर देयर न्यूट्रिशन. एग्जांपल काउस, sheep, buffaloes. Now carnivorous. Carnivorous are animals that depend on other animals for food. Example lion, tiger and wolf. Omnivorous. Omnivorous are the animals that eat both plants as well as animals. Example humans, bears, dogs and crows. Now different टाइप्स ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन इन एनिमल, एंड दिस इज मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. यहाँ से कई प्रकार के एमसीक्यूज जो हैं वो एग्जाम्स में पूछे जा सकते हैं. सो द डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन इन एनिमल्स इंक्लूड, द फर्स्ट इज फिल्टर फीडिंग, राइट. सो फिल्टर फीडिंग क्या है, राइट. फिल्टर फीडिंग इज ऑब्टेनिंग न्यूट्रिएंट्स फ्रॉम द पार्टिकल्स सस्पेंडेड इन वाटर, and this is found in fish. So filter feeding nutrition is obtaining nutrients from the particles suspended in water, right. For an example fish. Second, deposit feeding. Deposit feeding is obtaining nutrients from the particles suspended in the soil. Understand, right? What is filter feeding? Filter feeding is obtaining nutrients from the particles suspended in water. For an example fish, right. Deposit feeding is obtaining nutrients from the particles suspended in the soil. Example earthworms, right. Then flood feeding. Flood feeding is obtaining nutrients by the consuming other organisms flood, right. Other organisms flood. So flood feeding is obtaining nutrients by consuming other organisms flood. Example honey bees and mosquitoes. अब जो mosquitoes हैं वो ह्यूमन ब्लड को क्या करते हैं, सक करते हैं, तो उनमें क्या पाई जाती है, फ्लड फीडिंग पाई जाती है. अर्थवर्म्स जो हैं सॉइल में सस्पेंडेड पार्टिकल्स को कंज्यूम करते हैं तो उनमें डिपॉजिट फीडिंग पाई जाती है. फिशेस वाटर में जो सस्पेंडेड पार्टिकल्स होते हैं उनको फीड करते हैं, देयरफॉर उनमें फिल्टर फीडिंग पाई जाती है. Then bulk feeding, right. Bulk feeding is obtaining nutrients by eating the whole of an organism. For an example python. Python swallows its prey. Next, suction feeding. Suction feeding is injecting prey via surrounding fluids, right, and this usually exhibited by aquatic predators. For an example bony fish, right. Now process of nutrition in animals. See animals, right. Holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition, which is holozoic nutrition, right. Holozoic nutrition is also a type of heterotrophic nutrition, right. So holozoic nutrition is a type of heterotrophic nutrition, and holozoic nutrition involves the 5 process, right, 5 stages of the nutrition, right. So the holozoic nutrition involves 5 steps in the nutrition, which are the first is ingestion. Ingestion is the taking in food. Second, digestion. Digestion is the breaking down the larger food particles into smaller food particles. Then absorption. Absorbing the digested food into bloodstream. Assimilation, right. the absorbed food is get converted for energy growth and repair, then digestion. The undigested food is removed from the body, right, in the form of feces, right. So this is known as digestion, right. So these 5 stages are found in holozoic, right, holozoic animals, right, which is a type of heterotrophic nutrition in animals, right. Now we will see न्यूट्रिशन इन सिंपल एनिमल्स सच एज अमीबा, राइट. ये भी कई बार एग्जाम पे पूछा जाता है एंड दिस टॉपिक बिलोंग्स टू द एनसीईआरटी. देयरफॉर देयर इज अ हाई प्रोबेबिलिटी दैट different questions may be asked from this topic, right. So the first is amoeba, right. Amoeba insects, right. Amoeba ingests its food with the help of pseudopodia. Pseudopodia के माध्यम से ही क्या करता है, वो इंजेस्ट करता है. तो अमीबा ingests its food with the help of pseudopodia, right. The food is engulfed by forming a vacuole and is digested with the help of digestive enzyme, right. So the first stage ingestion. तो amoeba ingests its food with the help of pseudopodia and amoeba digests the food with the help of digestive enzyme. The digested food is absorbed directly in the cytoplasm by the process of diffusion. Energy is obtained from the absorbed food that helps in its growth, right. Growth. The undigested food is digested out of the body of amoeba by, right, rupturing the cell wall, right. So these are the three or four facts. The first is amoeba ingests its food with the help of pseudopodia, right. Second, amoeba digests its food with the help of digestive enzymes. Third, digestive food is absorbed directly into cytoplasm. और अगर हम humans की बात करते हैं तो humans में जो absorbed food है, right, वो absorb किस में किया जाता है, blood stream में किया जाता है, but amoeba में cytoplasm में, right. Or the undigested food is digested out of the body of amoeba by rupturing, right, rupturing the cell wall. Clear? Now nutrition in grass eating animal. जो grass eating animals हैं उसमें किस तरीके का होता है. तो देखिए grass eating animals such as cows eat grass frequently and collect it इन द rumen. तो यहाँ पर ruminant से रिलेटेड कुछ जो है फैक्ट्स एग्जाम्पल में पूछे जा सकते हैं, राइट. सो ग्रास ईटिंग एनिमल्स सच एज काउस ईट ग्रास फ्रिक्वेंटली एंड कलेक्ट इट इन द rumen. द डाइजेस्टेड ग्रास, राइट, द डाइजेस्टेड ग्रास इन द rumen is known as kada, right. तो ग्रास ईटिंग एनिमल्स सच एज काउट eat grass frequently and collect it in the rumen. The digested grass in the rumen is known as kada, right. After some time the kada comes back in the mouth of the animal. The kada that comes in the mouth is chewed by the animal and this action is known as rumination, right. Grass is rich in cellulose, right. There are some bacteria in the body of animals that digestion, right, for the digestion of the cellulose. तो सेल्यूलोज के डाइजेशन के लिए कुछ बैक्टीरिया पाए जाते हैं, राइट. और यहाँ पर यूमिनेशन की वजह से या रूमिनेशन की प्रोसेस से ही क्या होता है, डाइजेशन होता है. एंड आल्सो इम्पॉर्टेंट, राइट, जो रूमिनेंट एनिमल्स होते हैं, राइट, इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ रूमिनेशन, राइट, मेथेन गैस जो है वो क्या की जाती है, रिलीज की जाती है एनवायरनमेंट में. क्लियर? नाउ न्यूट्रिशन in humans. So we have studied this topic in detail, right, because human is a heterotrophic, right. The heterotrophic nutrition is found in human and human is a holozoic, right. The holozoic nutrition is found in human. Therefore there are 5 stages of nutrition in humans. The first is ingestion, then digestion, then absorption, then assimilation, and then digestion, right. And we have studied this topic in detail in the digestive system of humans, right. So in this way we have studied the topic of nutrition in depth, right. Now in the upcoming lecture we will study the balanced diet, because the topic of food is included in our prelims syllabus. So therefore in the upcoming lecture we will study about the food as well as the balanced diet and important nutrients, right? So we will meet in next lecture. Till then, thank you.